Alive and well. 2 days later, and things were still dark, both inside Mary Magdalene's heart and outside, as the sun was only just about beginning to peek over the horizon. As she made her way to the tomb with Jesus' mother, auntie, and friend, the events of the last few days still harrowed them all. These four women carried spices and fresh bandages to again perform the funeral duties for themselves. "How will we remove the stone?" Jesus' aunt Salome asked. The women had been so focused on the body, they hadn't thought of the tomb door or the soldier's guard. "Maybe the watchman will remove it for us," Mary answered hopefully. As they reached the garden, they realized their concern and conversation was needless. The stone was already moved away. The two guards were laying prostrate on the floor, totally dazed and confused and speechless. Curiously, the women walked past them and peered through the door into the man-made cave. They expected their eyes to take a few moments to adjust due to the darkness, but instead, their eyes had to adjust due to the dazzling light. The light seemed an unworldly incandescent glow, which was clearly not from torchlight nor sunlight. For Mary, the light reminded her of that ever-present memory at the time at her parents' little house when she found out she was going to be the mother of God's Son. Sure enough, as their eyes got used to the glow, they could just about make out the silhouetted shape of a man. "Why are you here?" the angel asked. "You're too late. There's no one dead here anymore. The dead man you're looking for is alive." The women all fell to their knees. The angel said again, "Do you not remember? He told you this would happen. He explained that he was going to be handed over, killed, and then raised to life again. He has done it. He has risen. Quick, go and tell his friends the news." The light faded as the four ladies and the soldiers realized the reality and struggled to their feet. All of them went their separate ways. The fearful Jewish guard went to Caiaphas, the superstitious Roman went to his commanding officer, and the joyful yet very confused women went to the house where Peter and the other disciples were staying. When they reached the house, Mary quickly recounted what they had been told at the tomb. The description of the man blazing white reminded Simon Peter and John of the time when they had been with Jesus on the mountaintop and his appearance had changed before their very eyes. These men, who had been with Jesus almost from the very beginning, had risked everything to follow him, including their family, their business, and their reputation. So whether it's because they believed the girl's story, or due to some faint hopefulness that the last 3 years had not been as wasteful as they currently seemed, both men stood up together, left the others moping, and headed towards the garden. When Caiaphas heard the similar tale about an angelic man who had appeared and removed the stone, it resulted in fury. Once again, despite his meddlesome plans and interference, the events of the weekend seemed to go against him. In his attempt to portray Jesus and his disciples as untrustworthy liars, Caiaphas himself had to plot, cheat, and lie to make his fabrication fit. Now he found himself constructing a slanderous conspiracy of nighttime raids, attacks on soldiers, and body snatching to further incriminate Jesus' friends. The tale was so fabricated and unflattering to the Jews and the Roman guards that even as he was telling the guards the official story they had to tell, they were unsure that anyone in their right mind would ever believe it. Meanwhile, between John and Peter, who had been so close family friends and business partners for as long as they could remember, there was a tense and awkward silence. They felt uncomfortable and unsure what to say to each other. So John decided to break this feeling in the tried and tested method he had resorted to many times when they were children at the side of the lake: competition. "Racia!" he shouted as he started to run. Being 10 years or so older than John, Peter saw this as an opportunity to roll back a few years, and he started sprinting after John in the direction of the garden. They had to dodge and weave around carts and donkeys, eager market sellers looking to make up for yesterday's lost trade, and early morning shoppers seeking the best quality for their money. As usual, John was far too quick, and he reached the tomb first. Immediately he saw the stone had in fact been removed, and the guards had fled just as he was told, but there was no sign of a glowing man. Without entering, he peered through the doorway and noticed something else was missing too. The headcloth was neatly folded, and the bandages were there, stained with patches of dark brown with a yellowy tinge. They were all unravelled and discarded on the floor, but there was no body. Then he heard the crunch of stones and the breathless panting of his friend as Peter eventually arrived, and without slowing to anything less than a brisk walk, he went straight inside to the open tomb. As he too looked around, he saw the redundant grave clothes. As John joined him in the small cave, the two friends caught each other's eye. The look between them was enough. Something resolved in their hearts, and they both instantly knew that this was no joke, not some cruel trick or prank. Jesus was back. Mary Magdalene's mind was spinning. The man she saw at the tomb was real. She knew that. But was he really an angel? Was the glowing light a trick of the early dawn's rays? Did he really mean that Jesus had risen, or in her desire for that to be true, had she elaborated the truth and twisted the meaning in her head? Could there be another explanation? Could "he is not here" simply mean he is being moved? Her mind felt wretched as her emotionally exhausted body sought rest. She found herself aimlessly wandering through the streets, her legs leading the way whilst her head was distant, pondering and questioning her doubts. Momentarily, she came to her senses and realized that the pull of her heart had led her mindless walk back to the garden. She sat down outside the tomb and sobbed quietly to herself. A few moments later, through the corner of her tear-filled eyes, she saw a man's feet. "Sir," she mumbled, "if you're the gardener, please tell me where you've put the body. He was put in here on Friday, but this morning, he's gone." The verbalization of her uncertainty over Jesus' whereabouts made her feel lost and abandoned, like a child who's been disconnected from their parents in a busy marketplace. The one-word response took a while to sink in. Mary. She knew that voice. The tenderness and love, affection and respect, the compassion and peace. There was only one man who spoke her name that way. Mary rubbed her eyes, forcing the water out and restoring her vision. Then, starting at the feet, she slowly raised her gaze upwards. Everything she saw confirmed her hopes. The familiar stature and stance pushed all previous doubts out of her mind. Jesus was back. She threw herself forward at Jesus' feet and started kissing them uncontrollably. Feet she knew well, yet now with the addition of scars near each ankle. Like that child who was lost, once there found, she clung to his legs and resolved never to leave him again. Jesus smiled. "Mary," he said again, "it's great to be back with you, but don't cling to me forever. I won't be staying too long." Again, Mary didn't understand what he meant by this, but for now it didn't matter. Jesus was back. He is risen.